today's webinar is about a guide to alcohol-free drinks, what they are, why you may drink them, and also a little bit about the festival. So the reason why I'm doing this is it's been a while since I've talked about alcohol-free drinks. And it's not just that I'm obsessed with getting you to the festival, which clearly I am, but there's a reason why I've decided to do the festival. So I thought it'd be worth sharing that with you. Right, so alcohol-free drinks. Haven't you noticed that since giving up drinking, people sometimes say to you, oh, you've just replaced one habit with another as you have an alcohol-free beer or an alternative drink. And have you noticed that the people that say that to you are people who are still drinking? As if A, they would know what it is that you've done and what you're going through, and B, it isn't really replacing one addiction with another. That's a complete and utter myth, and actually it really denigrates what it is that you've achieved and what it is that you've done. It really, really annoys me. So as you all know, I'm a little bit obsessed with tea. I'm like a born-again Christian with tea because I never used to drink, black tea with milk in. I never liked it. I never liked coffee. And actually it was about 6-7 months after giving up drinking that I discovered a tea shop not far from here and thought, well, I'll go in and give it a go and just see what they've got. And the man who ran that shop introduced me to the wonders of different types of tea. And now I've got like a £60 a month tea habit, and I will pick my tea depending on my mood. I will drink it all the way throughout the day, and I'll even drink it in the evening in the pub if I want to stay awake a bit longer. But that's very, very different than actually having the relationship I had with alcohol, right? So I can go days without tea if I want to. I know that caffeine can be slightly addictive, but tea is slightly different. And I have gone a week without drinking tea when I was taking some medication. But tea doesn't make me fall over and lose things. Tea doesn't make me lose my memory. Tea doesn't stop me going to the gym in the morning. Tea doesn't wreck my liver, doesn't wreck my heart, doesn't wreck my health. Tea doesn't make me put on weight. Tea doesn't do lots and lots and lots of things. So yes, whilst I have found a drink that I really like that isn't alcohol, I haven't replaced an addiction with another. What I've done is I've found a drink that's far better for me, that makes me very curious, that I'm very interested in learning about because there's lots to learn. And I like it for what it is, not because it's continually pressing on a part of my brain and making me want to drink more. So one way it's really important that the people who say that to you don't let that get to you and you go, oh no, oh my God, I've had too many bottles of Nanny State this evening. Maybe I'm just as bad. No, it isn't. You are replacing the act of lifting something up and putting something to your mouth. You are finding something to drink in the evening that still feels like a reward. And don't forget, when we're changing our drinking, alcohol has become so much of our life that it's our consolation, it's our reward, it's our relaxation, it's our celebration, it's our it's everything. And so not only are you replacing that physical act of picking something up and drinking it, because we do that, you're also doing something during a point in time where your brain is going, oh, you're stressed, you should have alcohol. Oh, you're happy, you should make that better by having alcohol. Oh, you're sad, you need to calm yourself and relax yourself with alcohol. Oh, you're tired, have some alcohol. Our brain's actually been hardwired over so long of drinking that it wants us to drink something because that's the act that your brain is triggering, that it's so used to you doing. And so partly what you're doing by finding another drink that you like or exploring drinks is you're finding something to do during that particular trigger. The thing that you're choosing to do isn't making matters worse because it's got alcohol in. So it's absolutely perfectly fine that you start to find alternative drinks. And like I said, when I gave up, I went very mental. I bought a soda stream. I started to get, syrups, which had like tonic syrups and stuff like that sent over from the States. My friend got very involved with me and we were trying out all sorts of different concoctions to make an interesting, exciting drink. And actually now that phase has passed and I moved on to tea, and now tea sort of takes up some of that space. But it was a really important stage for me to go through because one, it distracted me. from thinking about drinking because I was in the process of making, but also it allowed me to find something else to drink and get used to my changing taste buds. It gave me something to do while my brain was still saying, now you drink, now you drink. And also it gave me something that felt like a reward, because at the end of the day, what you drink during the day to hydrate yourself, like water and tea and all those things, is one thing. But when you're in the evening and when you feel you want something a bit special, when you feel you deserve something, then that's quite a big trigger. And so having something that's special, that's different, that does signal that break from day to evening, which alcohol might have done for you, is fine if you find something that replaces that, that just isn't as unhealthy. Now, ideally, you don't want to go and drink loads and loads of fizzy pop, because the sugar actually will probably be just as bad for triggering all sorts of things as alcohol was. Not quite as bad, but it still won't help you lose weight. It still won't help. You'll probably have a sugar coma the following morning. So you will, as an adult, want to find different things. So they have a place for you, and that place may be more important in the first few months than it is in the next 5 years. It may be that switching to alcohol-free drinks in the first few months does its job, but then you move on to other things. It's your journey, people. It's up to you to work that out. Don't let anybody else, particularly anybody else that is still drinking, tell you what you should or should not be putting in your mouth. And don't let what they say put you off the journey of discovery that you're on. And I think that's really important, because continually I have this fight with public health professionals, right, who go, yeah, I love what you're doing about alcohol, Laura, but you encourage people to drink something different, and that conflicts with our sugar message. And I'm going, well, A, I'm talking to adults over 18 who can make their own decisions. And B, I wish sugar was everyone's only problem. We're talking about moving people away from alcohol, which is a mind-altering drug. And maybe, just maybe, drinking some fizzy, sugary, non-alcoholic drinks for a while will help them, but they are adults. They can make those decisions themselves. It's a big difference between a sugar message that applies to children and something that applies to people who are trying to change their drinking habits. And I really do want to throttle some people because it fails to recognise the importance of the things that you need to do to change your drinking. And so Bristol Council, for example, have talked to us about possibly doing the festival down there. And then she had to say, I also want you to know, Laura, that we're a low sugar authority because we're part of Jamie Oliver's campaign, and so we're not sure whether we'll be able to do the festival because it may conflict. And I'm like, well, actually nearly everything designed for adults is low in sugar because that's what adults want. There may be a few other things with sugar in, but that's not the point. It's an adult event. It's aimed at people who are switching from something that's actually far worse than sugar. And get me in a room with Jamie Oliver and I'll sort him out, is maybe what I might have said. So I'm just checking for any questions right now. I have to re-thingy my I don't like looking at myself, but equally I need to see your questions. Well, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I just need to turn the sound down. Okay, so cool. So alcohol-free drinks do have a role for you, and what is another couple of things to remember about switching to alcohol-free drinks is, one, we all liked different things when we were drinking, right? And we will all like different things now we're not drinking. So just because somebody really likes the Tesco's own brand alcohol-free wine, it doesn't mean that's necessarily right for you. You're going to have to give it a try. But one thing I've noticed is when we were drinking, we would have happily spent $9.99 on a bottle of wine or £5 on a 5-pack of beer, or I know 6-pack of beer, because it was alcohol, and we would have gone well out. We become so bloody stingy now that we've given up drinking. It's ridiculous. So suddenly, when we would have thrown like tons of cash out the door, we won't buy a bottle of alcohol-free wine in case we don't like it and we don't want to waste the whole bottle. Guys, you're looking for something new to replace, to make you feel happy, to make you feel grown up, to take to a party. If you buy a bottle of alcohol-free wine and don't like it, then tip it down the sink. but then at least you've tried it. And so we can give each other as much guidance as we like about what drinks we've liked and what other people may like, and give recommendations, but it won't always work. It won't always translate. I was never a beer drinker. I always drank red wine because obviously it made me look even more attractive than white wine would have done in vast quantities on an evening out. You know, we'll all like different things. The other thing is your expectation. You will never get anything that directly replaces alcohol for you because it hasn't got alcohol in. It will never hit the spot in exactly the same way because it hasn't got alcohol in. Now, it may be that because you make it, you put a lime in and some ice in, and it's got the taste, a very similar taste, it will be a great replacement for you, and it will take over that time of making a drink and that feeling that you've made something for yourself. It will do many, many other things for you, but it won't ever have that astringency. And so even if you had an alcohol-free gin and tonic that's made with, you know, some essences or some de-alcoholized wine, it still just won't be quite the same. The other thing to know is that you can learn to like new things. We learn to like alcohol. It's a learned behaviour. Our body naturally repels it. When we smell it, when we go to drink it, we go, ugh, because it's a poison and our body is reacting. We learn to like it because we like the effects. And what you will find, I certainly found after 6 months not drinking, the smell of wine made me want to heave. The smell of alcohol, and even sometimes the taste of alcohol, lost its magic for me because I had managed to break some of those mental chains that I had that were attached to alcohol, and my body was beginning to react in quite a natural way, which is, I don't like it. This is not good for me. I have a natural sense that alcohol isn't good, and that's what happens with children and babies and everything when they smell alcohol, until we start feeding them small tots of it to get them used to it in a responsible environment, which is an excuse for us to all drink while we're around children generally. So it is a learned behaviour, and you can learn to like something else. So it may be that you don't like a drink when you first try it. So like I've been on the Botanique because Hilary gave me a few bottles of her new vintage. They're vintaged by year. She gave me a few bottles of Botanique, and I've not particularly liked it. It was a bit weird to start with. And I've had a few more glasses. And then this morning, I found myself going, oh, I'm going into work today, and oh, I could sit and have some Botanique a bit later in the day after I've done a lot of work. I deserve a glass of Botanique. And so I found myself thinking about it a bit like I did alcohol, but not because I want the alcohol hit, but because I'm getting quite used to the flavour. It's got quite a strong smell, so I've got a smell association with it. And because I'm working really hard, and I feel I want something other than tea every minute of every day. But you know what, this bottle will run out, and I'm not going to be rushing to get some more from Hilary, although we will see her at the festival in a few weeks. But I'm interested in how I've started to use this particular drink in my day at the moment. Right, okay. The other thing, and I'm going to pick up your point, Leanne, about alcohol-free beers and wines. So, there is alcohol in lots of things. There is about 0.3% alcohol in a banana. There is alcohol in vinegar that you might put on chips. There is 2 units of alcohol in your stomach that you make every day, which is the only reason why we can process alcohol, because there's a natural fermentation going on. So you cannot avoid alcohol totally. And so, and if you leave orange juice in the fridge, for example, for a few days, it will start to go through a natural fermentation process. And because it's a fruit, it will have some alcohol in it. A Fentimans ginger beer does not have to be labelled with any alcohol content in it, nor do the profiteroles in Marks and Spencer's, which we discussed before, because labelling doesn't say that they have to label to put the alcohol content in all of those things, but they can have up to 0.5%. The only reason why you would avoid an alcohol-free beer or wine is if it triggers you to drink the real thing, not because of its alcohol content. And for dependent alcoholics, for people whose body has physically depended on it, I do believe it's a really difficult thing. The same as going into a pub is a difficult thing. So AA will tell you to never go in a pub again. AA will tell you not to hang around people who are drinking ever again. AA will tell you not to touch an alcohol-free beer or wine. I never drank beer, so beer has no association with alcohol for me whatsoever. It now tastes like a brewed drink. But you have to make the decision yourself. You are an adult, you're a grown up. You can try these things. I also find it really weird because basically what we've done is we've created a category of drinks in our head, and there are alcoholic drinks, and then there are fake alcoholic drinks, and then there are soft drinks. And I'm still trying to work out how to begin to explain to start a discussion in adult terms about this. But a soft drink is called a soft drink because it's not an alcoholic drink. So we have all of the categories of drinks that aren't alcoholic have all been named because they're not alcohol. That's how our history has worked, right? So that's completely mad to begin with. And my view is that actually if you've been seriously addicted to alcohol, if you've had a real big problem with alcohol, if you know that alcoholic drinks are a triggery drink, you may also want to steer away from sugary drinks, because really sugar stimulates the same part of your brain as alcohol. So actually what you're looking for is to if you just say, right, there is a world of drinks, and some of those drinks have alcohol in, and some of them don't have alcohol in. Pepsi has up to 0.5% alcohol in it, by the way. So does Coke. Definitely Pepsi. So does some of the other soft drinks. They don't have to put it on the can, right? So if you say there's a world of drinks, ranging from water all the way through to something that's got an ABV that's quite high, what is it that I'm going to find that satisfies me as an adult, that will keep me hydrated, that will help me create a feeling of reward, that will help me sip when I'm out with friends? Because, you know, you drink a soft drink, a soda because you're thirsty, or you drink a pint of squash because you're thirsty. But when you're in the pub and you're having a drink, then maybe you want something sippable. So what drinks will serve me well, that won't trigger me, that will support me in my journey? I mean, where would you put this drink? This has never been brewed. It has never gone to a vineyard. It is a mixture of water and botanicals. It's low in calorie and low in sugars. It's got some pear juice in it. Now, Hillary calls it an alternative to white wine for people who are looking for something that's drier and not so sweet. So because it says it's an alternative to wine, do you consider this a fake alcohol drink, or do you consider it a drink in its own right? I started to drink nettle cordial after I gave up drinking, because it's, again, not so sweet. It's got a bit of an earthy taste to it. I'd put it in sparkling water. It felt like a sparkling special drink to me. So where do you begin to put these drinks in a line on what's a fake, what's a bad drink, what's a good drink? Only you can make that decision. So yeah, I'm definitely on the Botanique now. So my answer to Leanne is, you need to make that decision for you. I don't know what level your drinking was at. I don't know if you were dependent or not. I don't know that if you pick up a glass of wine, fake wine or alcohol-free wine. See? The labels, I can't bear the labels. But if you pick up an alcohol-free wine, which has been de-alcoholized, what is it that you're doing? Are you picking it up in the hope that you will want some more wine? Are you picking it up in the hope that it will switch you from alcohol to non-alcohol? Are you hoping that this is something that you can sip in the evening with friends? Are you hoping this is something that, actually, to be honest, this bottle of Bee's Knees, actually, let me just, I'll go through some of these in a minute. I've got like a whole bar here. You know, is an alcohol-free wine actually better for you generally, because it's got no sugar in, no added anything? It is just grapes, and then it's been de-alcoholized. So, you know, an alcohol-free beer has got 60 calories in it, no added sugar. So what are you balancing up in terms of your health? These have to be your decisions. So all I can do is give you advice. But trust me, every time you eat a banana, you certainly have got, you are drinking more alcohol than is in here, or in this Botanique. And every time you drink a Coca-Cola, you are drinking things that are far worse for you than anything in this Botanique. Yet Botanique's appealing to the adult market, so it compares itself to the alcohol that you might have been used to knowing about, because it's a taste that we all generally know. It's all about marketing. Oh, there's a drink that I forgot to get out of the cupboard. I'll have to get it in a minute. Right, So let me give you a little rundown of the different drinks. Right, let's start with alcohol-free beers. So I'm really I find this hilarious, right? I never drank beer. I rarely drink beer. I was a cider drinker. I quite like Stowford Press because it is the best out of all the ciders. And just to let you know something about the alcoholic cider, Magners and Bulmers are technically not ciders. They are alcopops. They have been post-mixed with sugar to make them more desirable to all ages. It's a lowest common denominator drink. I'm still a cider snob, right? You can tell. Look, how could they call it cider? What do you mean you're putting ice in your cider in the summer? It just used to infuriate me, right? And so now I found that a kombucha is a really good alcohol-free alternative to a very dry cider. Now, if we come back to this debate on what's alcoholic, what isn't, kombucha's a live product, so it's like having a live yogurt for breakfast, but it's also brewed, but it's brewed in a way that you wouldn't have known other types of brewing. It's brewed with a live mushroom that sits on top of the product, and that mushroom eats the sugar that's in the main ingredient. So it's a tea. It's a very sugary tea, and that kombucha metabolizes that sugar and to create kombucha. And it can, because it's a fermented, like your what's the cabbage? That fermented cabbagey stuff that you get in Korean restaurants, kimchi. So like kimchi or like other fermented products, it can turn into alcohol if it's not stopped quick enough. So there we go. Where do you put that on the you should avoid alcoholic drinks spectrum? I don't know. You know, don't leave your yogurt in the fridge too long, people. It's live; it can ferment. So I quite like quite like a kombucha because it's far lower in calories. It's far drier. It's even more dry than Stowford Press in terms of its taste. And so that's my alcohol-free cider alternative. But Stowford Press is still pretty good, and it's pretty good because it's not post-mixed with sugar. Copperberg alcohol-free cider tastes very much like the Copperberg alcoholic cider, and that's because neither of them have got any relation to cider. Copperberg alcoholic cider is basically lots of sugar with some alcohol in it. It's probably never really seen a proper cider factory at all, and that's why the non-alcoholic version tastes virtually the same, because it's all sugar. So you'll see what a minefield this alcohol-free versus non-alcoholic versus soft drinks is. That alcohol-free cider won't have sugar tax on it, but a Fentimans ginger beer will do under the new taxation rules. That's how bloody balmy that is. Anyway, so that's just a little bit on cider. I never drank beers when I was a drinker, and but I now am known in Shoreditch as the alcohol-free beer lady, because we did a beer tasting for over 100 different pubs to get them to taste the alcohol-free beers. And the important thing to remember is when you drank you can learn to like an alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic beer, even if you didn't drink beer before. And if you didn't drink beer before, then you'll have no associations of beer with alcohol, and so it becomes a really useful drink in its own right because it's low in sugar, it's low in calories. But even if you did like a beer, actually beers brew really well at low ABVs, because the reason why Brits have a big culture of beer is because we used it to clean our water. And in fact, we still do. So I went, because I'm a very exciting person, I went to visit a couple of water purifying centres in an old job that I had. And they're all using equipment that's been developed in the brewing industry in order to clean the water. So we still rely on brewing to clean our water. But while the Chinese and the Japanese brewed tea in order to clean their water, we made very weak beer, and it was for a long while the cleanest way to drink water and to get fluids into your system during very poor times. So beer, actually we brew beer well. Technology's changed so you can brew at low ABVs, and there's two. The other thing to know is there's two ways, and this might be useful for you, Leanne. There are two ways of making alcohol-free drinks. One is to not put the alcohol in them at all. The other is to de-alcoholize them, which means that you either through osmosis or through heat extract the alcohol out of them. So we will talk about some de-alcoholized wines later. So at one point they did have alcohol in them, but these beers have never had alcohol in them, and technology has progressed so that they actually taste better than beers used to. And everyone I know who's tried the Heineken 00 says it tastes like Heineken. What they can notice is that there isn't that astringent bite in it, which is that bit of alcohol. But basically people are going, you know what? They've brewed a beer that tastes like Heineken, and that is taking a lot of respect even from craft beer enthusiasts, because they respect that process that they've gone through. So I've got a few beers here. Nanny State has been very popular. This is 0.5. So 0.5 will have to be sold on the shelves in the UK as low alcohol, unless it's come from Germany, and then it can be called alcohol free. Don't even get me started on that, because I've already gone on half an hour and I could talk about this forever. But again, you know, that you would need to drink 15 of these to get to 1 unit, right? That's how many you'd have to drink. The chance of you getting drunk are very low. You will process the alcohol in this quicker than you can drink the bottle. But what it is very dry, it's sippable. You could nurse this for as long as you would have done a normal drink, a normal alcoholic drink. No, I didn't use the word normal. I didn't do that. It's not normal. You can sip this like you would have done an alcoholic drink, and in fact you would have probably drank the alcoholic drink quicker, quite frankly. I remember the day that I moved from cider to wine because I was worried that I was drinking cider too quickly. Guess what? I learned to drink wine just as quickly as cider. So this is a 0.5, and you can get that in Tesco's. This is, I've got a couple of stouts here. Big Drop, and these all guys will be at the festival actually, but these are if you liked your Guinness, this is what you want. And again, you know, no one's forcing you to drink this. If you didn't like Guinness and you've tried this and you don't like it, then it doesn't matter, because there are other things now. Hooray! And these are both at 0. This is 0%. I think it must be 0.05 actually, and this is 0.5. This one's in a bigger bottle. But either way, so you could probably drink like this will probably have less effect on you than drinking the same equivalent amount of Coke, I can tell you. So yeah, so there are now stouts, and I've heard a rumour that somebody said to me, and I hear a very big company's going to be bringing out their alcohol-free stout soon, and I know that Guinness do an alcohol-free stout, so maybe they're bringing it here to the UK. I'll come on to your point in a minute, Amy. And this is St. Peter's have done this. This is a real hardcore beer, right? So everyone I know who's tasted it, even if they're a craft beer person, have gone, oh. It's very rye. If you like rye bread, it's like liquid rye bread. That's why UC likes it. But again, you can get that. You can now get these in Tesco's, because the great thing about the alcohol-free market is because there are so few suppliers, they've got more craft on, and so there are a lot more choices. So, like I said, beers, for me, beers are great because I never associated them with drinking. I've never really got into them because I've not given myself time to get to like them. But I do. There's a few on Dry Drinker that I really like. And if you go to Dry Drinker and use the code Club Soda VIP, you get a discount as well. But get a mixed case and try different things. You're not meant to like everything you try. So don't assume that you will. You know, make this an experiment, try different things. Now, if I go on to the wines, so first of all, I've got, I have actually got some Rawson's Retreat in the cupboard. I should get it out. I've got some Rawson's Retreat Red. Is that the one that's running out? Is the Rawson's Retreat Red running out? So I've got Iceberg here. Now, Iceberg is 0.05, so that is alcohol free, whereas Rawson's Retreat is 0.5. But both are the same in the fact that they have been de-alcoholized, which means they had alcohol in them, and then they had that alcohol taken out. And you can, so it gives it a mouthfeel of alcohol. And I was just thinking, I've actually got the video from, let me have a little look, alcohol-free wine. I've actually got the video somewhere, wait a minute, of how they make de-alcoholized wine, because again the technology is changing, but what de-alcoholizing does is gives you, it takes out the sweetness, and it also gives you a mouthfeel of alcohol. It gives a very different, it sort of sticks to your teeth slightly like wine used to, actually all the time it used to for me. So so yeah, that's it, that's the difference that a de-alcoholized drink gives you. So all the wines tend to be de-alcoholized, otherwise they'd just be a grape juice. Although I have been to a few places that do their own sort of grape juice, verjuice type of drinks. They do that at Charlotte's at W5. They do that in the Granary, in Granary Square. Joe asks why the Brewdog's got 0.5% in it when it hasn't been de-alcoholized, and that's because they stop the fermenting and the brewing process before it gets any higher than 0.5. So and the same with kombucha, actually, as kombucha and vinegar and anything like that can go alcoholic once, and soy sauce, once they've got to a certain level. The way that you stop it getting any more alcoholic is you stop it, and so they stop it at 0.5%, in the same way as you can make a 3% beer by stopping it at 3% at the right point in the process. And so what Rob will tell you from Big Drop, if you ever want to come and see him, is they had to work out that exact point, as well as the ingredients, exact point where to stop it, so that they still had the taste alongside the alcoholic content. And that's why actually you can tell this is quite hoppy in compared to some other beers, and that's because I don't think actually Brewdog put that much effort into this. It's just that they were always going to be better than Beck's Blue, and so they didn't put as much effort into it. They just covered up the fact there wasn't alcohol in it by putting lots of hops in. That's what people tell me. So that's how they de-alcoholize wine and do the de-alcoholization process. And a bottle should tell you what process it's been through to de-alcoholize, or whether it's just not gone through that at all. And the beers would have to tell you if they were de-alcoholized on it. Okay, so now other things that you can try if you don't want alcohol-free beers and wines or ciders is other soft drinks. Now, I'm very partial to tonics. Tonic is designed to hide the flavour of a really shit gin. And until recently, most gins were quite shit in flavour. And actually, if you don't drink anymore, then actually the gin's not the important thing. But you can still get much of the feel by having a tonic. And you can have a tonic with bitters in. Now, bitters are alcoholic. You will probably know Angostura bitters, which you've had put in different cocktails in the past. And if you go into a cocktail bar, they will have like a big tray with all sorts of different flavoured bitters in there. I particularly like a Morello cherry bitter, for example. Now, these are very distilled tastes. I don't actually know how bitters are made, but they're very distilled, very concentrated tastes. They are alcoholic, but once put into this high volume of tonic, they will flavour it very quickly, but they haven't got any alcohol in. So an Angostura bitters and tonic is nothing. And I actually know lots of people who have been through AA who will drink an Angostura bitters and tonic. It will probably have about the same amount of alcohol in as a iceberg wine. So, you know, but there's also lots of new flavoured tonics out. This is a chocolate flavour, see? I haven't got another one of those here, but but you can begin to find them. There'll be lots of those at the festival as well. But you can also buy bitters online. You can even buy little small sample bottles, and you can give it a go yourself and see what it is that you might like. And I quite like, particularly when I'm on holiday, a tonic topped up with loads and loads of fruit in is absolutely perfect. I feel like I'm having, again, something different. It's not what I've been drinking all day. It feels like a switch to the evening. It really works for me. Then you've got other things that look like wine, but actually don't even have often even any grape juice in them, but haven't been through the same process as iceberg. So some of you would have seen the, I can't remember which company it is now, but they do a sparkling tea infusion, and lots of them are using tea as a base. This one here has got sparkling fermented grape juice. So it's a grape juice that's probably been hanging around in a vat for a while. It hasn't gone anywhere near as far as becoming alcoholic like the wine has, but it's got green tea in it as well. I mean, where would you put this in the category of, is it an alcoholic drink? It's probably been fermented just as much as a Fentimans ginger beer, which you get in the pub. So, you know, but what it is not as sweet, it's not as calorific. this has got 34 calories in the same size as a 125 ml wine glass. So suddenly you can see the difference between picking this and picking a very sugary fizzy drink on your palate. So some things look like wines but haven't even been through a de-alcoholization process. There are beers where the alcoholization process has just been stopped. There are things like kombucha which have the potential to become alcoholic. Lots of things in the health food store do, for example, but have never been allowed to ferment that far. Okay, what else do you have? Then you have things like Nicks and Kicks and pimento, which have chili in them, which give you a kick. I can't drink this because I'm a big wuss, but you see, really enjoyed that. But again, this was actually quite sugary, whereas Nicks and Kicks has got less sugar in. So again, you can find things that might give you a kick in the way that you hadn't anticipated. Now, let me talk to you. Then you've got alcohol-free G&T, or you've got Duchess. They're both made with tonics. They've got a very strong tonic taste, and they've got botanicals. In the case of Duchess, it's got a gin extract in it. So again, it's worked like a bitters. It's probably distilled the essence of what gin tastes like, which is very junipery, into very, very, small droplets that just a few drops will make that taste really lovely, or make a tonic taste a bit more ginny, more so than actually I think the Co-op alcohol-free and sugar-free tonic, gin and tonic, which I actually think is just a slightly flavoured tonic. But once you've dressed it, once you've tried a few, actually you begin to realise that doesn't matter so much. You'll get used to the taste. Same with Seedlip to a degree. Seedlip's slightly different in the fact that it's a totally distilled flavour. It's been through that process of extracting lots of ingredients into an extraction which has got the essence and the total flavour of the taste, so that you've got, a strong hit of something which goes into a tonic or something like that. They've managed to do it sugar-free, which creates its own problems. But again, they will market it as an alcohol-free gin because it's the nearest thing that there is to it, but it has never been made even alcoholic. It's never gone anywhere near that process. So again, if you're trying to avoid alcohol, that's certainly been through far less of a process of being made as anywhere near alcohol than the banana that's been sat in your fruit bowl for a week. What's more likely is the associations and what it might make you do. And so that's about you and knowing you and your behaviour. So there are actually lots of drinks out there that you could go for. And I think that finding the right drink for you is part of the journey of changing your drinking. Find the thing that makes you feel like a grown-up. Find the thing that you can sneak in your bag and take out. I take kombucha out with me all the time. Open it, fine. Some of that's about developing your own inner bravery to realise that this place hasn't catered for me. I will step up if they ask, but otherwise I'm just going to bring my own drink, and begin to change that. I found, being slightly rebellious was a good part of my change journey, and that I was going to fight for my sobriety, and I was going to make society bend to my will and not just accept what people gave me, in order to protect that. And that to me was absolutely great fun, but I appreciate that's not the same for everybody. I've given you, I was going to try a different drink live on air. So these guys coming to the festival, Lerville's Delight. They're also a botanical drink made with Welsh carbonated spring water. All the best things are made in Wales, I have some concentrated fruit juices, and then lots of botanical extracts. And it's called Lerville's Delight. And it's called a dry Welsh soda. Da-da-da! Dry Welsh soda. I'm going to try this in the sophisticated way that I know how, which is by swigging it out of the bottle. Can't get the lid off. Oh, this is lovely. This is like a very light blackcurrant. Oh, I quite like this. I quite like blackberries, and so this is really quite nice. I was trying to think of what it reminds me of slightly, but definitely it also it doesn't feel watery. Sometimes when something, you expect Ribena in your head, but it's not like Ribena, and then you feel a bit disappointed. This hasn't got that. It hasn't been washed out. There's still quite a lot of flavour in there. Oh, I'm quite liking that. So now's the time to pop any more questions on the webinar list if you've got them. I'm now going to be, I'd like to say I'm going to be high on sugar, but none of these things are really high in sugar. Like this is 60 calories a bottle, which means its sugar is still quite low. I've still got some Botanique left. Woohoo! It's just like the old days. I'm surrounded by bottles. So yeah, so I'm just going to check some questions. And the writing is the right way around. Who knows? Okay, so just a couple of other things to share with you then. So I'm not only telling you this because we've got a festival, but obviously this is preoccupying me quite a bit at the minute. But the reason why we chose to do the festival is because people want to try, people are curious, but people aren't going to buy a whole bottle of iceberg wine unless they know they like it. So that psychology, again, works for everybody, whether you're trying to give up drinking or not. But we do know that people are looking for lower sugar, lower alcohol alternatives. So we thought we'd bring them all together in one place. It's probably been the hardest thing I've done. And I don't think UC's ever going to really forgive me for going ahead with this idea. But anyway, we are where we are. And part of it is really interesting is that Heineken are going to be bringing, this is Heineken's master brewer. And he's coming to do a talk on how they took 2 years to get Heineken 00 right. And he wants to talk about how they did that to try and keep their taste profile. So if you're interested in beer and interested in finding out more about how those things work, then do talk to him. The other thing is if you found the webinar useful, then we have moved to a pay what you want model. If you find the group and these webinars and the emails that we send and the blogs that we do and all that sort of stuff useful, then if you can consider making a monthly contribution. I don't want to have to put Club Soda behind a paywall like some other organisations have done, but in order to make this work we have to find a way to do that. So we are asking people to start making a regular donation so we can keep it free for everybody. People can pay what they want, which means you can also pay a one-off if you want to pay a one-off as well and say, I quite like today's webinar, Laura deserves £3 for having gone in the cupboard and rescued all those wines and for breaking the law by showing a BBC piece of video. Anyway, okay, so those are the things that I wanted to tell you at the end, and I should have said some of those at the beginning. But if you want to come to the festival, come. There's going to be a Club Soda table. Janet and Deborah and Ali and Martin and loads of others are going to be there hosting that space, so come along. There'll also be a 1 year no beer table and a Soberistas table and a quiz without beers table. So they will probably all merge at some point, but anyway. Do let me know if you've got any questions about that as well. It's definitely worth the day trip down to London. And I'm just going to double check there's no more questions left. Yes, there is a way to do a one-off gift, Helen. So just to remind you, if you go into our shop, you can see there's a one-off payment. And yes, that's all your questions. I've gone on forever. I've learned so much about this subject, including, you know, what happens in pubs and all this sort of stuff. Me and Lucy know a huge amount, and so I could actually talk about this for quite a long time. I feel quite sad that I talk so much about beers when I still don't actually drink them. And I've now become a snob around alcohol-free beers. I'm not sure if I could ever speak to AB and Bev who make Beck's Blue, but I know that some people like it. So why am I being a snob? See? You can take the alcohol out of a person, but you can't take their snobbery. It's ridiculous. I worked in factories and I don't understand where this has come from. It's terrible. Anyway, that's all for now, and I will speak to you soon.